Hi, welcome to Solutions. I'm Frances Littman, and we have an exciting show that features local change makers and grassroots solutions for a better world. A revolution is happening in the auto industry. I spoke to James and Lisa Locke of the Victoria Electric Vehicle Club about a special trip they made in their state-of-the-art Tesla.
We did a spur-of-the-moment trip down to SpaceX for a tour, and we just got back the other day. It was an amazing trip. We had a lot of fun. We drove down in a day and a half, 100% electric in the Tesla Model X, and with our two kids. We decided to take the leap and go 100% electric to support the company. And I've always been interested in space since I was a kid. So to see something like this and have the opportunity to see how rockets are built and designed is an amazing opportunity.
What about you, Lisa? Where do you fit into all this?
Well, I have a PhD in electrical engineering. I work here at the Hertzberg Institute, and I build instrumentation for observatories like this. And just the whole Tesla and SpaceX idea, the electric cars, good for the earth, drives like crazy, goes like a bat out of hell, rockets, Elon Musk, it all ties in.
And how has it impacted your family, Lisa?
Well, the kids can't imagine owning a gas car anymore. We have to sort of keep them down whenever they pass a gas car and want to insult them. But for the most part, they're starting to understand that electric vehicles work, with the added bonus that they don't pollute the atmosphere every single day.
As a family, is it expensive?
You have to budget for it. The way you think of an electric vehicle is that it's more of an upfront cost than a long-term cost. So as soon as you buy the car, that's all your upfront costs, and from that point on, it pays back. So the more driving you do in an electric vehicle, the more it's worth investigating. For example, the way we did it is we do a lot of driving, and so we did 80,000 kilometers in the first year. In that first year alone, we saved approximately $10,000 in gas in 1 year. So do that over 10 years, you're paying for the price of the car. The batteries on an electric vehicle come with an 8-year warranty, and the minimum expected lifespan is about 15 years. We've driven our electric vehicle up to the Northwest Territories. I had it in minus 36. It was the best drive I've ever experienced in that kind of temperature.
So it handles really well.
It handles amazing.
Yeah, we even had it on the Coca-Cola ice storm.
Oh yeah, we were
and
involved in that.
And we were the only ones with heat.
Yes.
Everyone else had to turn their car off to save gas.
Yeah.
Silke Sommerfeld and Rolf Otter were the first people to travel across Canada with both a sun-powered electric car and solar-powered camping trailer. Why did you decide to do this?
Well, we wanted to show others how easy this could be to switch to renewable energy and to electric cars.
We wanted to help out in the transition, the accelerating of getting into electric power generation.
And also Sun Country Highway already made sure in 2013 that you can actually cross Canada easily with an electric car. You have no idea how good it feels to be driving an electric car. It feels really great.
We have solar on our roof, so when we're driving here, which is most of our driving, we get it solar powered, and it's nice to be driving on sunshine. And then electric cars are just so much more fun than gasoline cars because everything is instantaneous and quiet.
You don't even have to worry about charging stations. You drive home, you plug in, and next morning your car is charged and you can drive away again. It's that easy, really.
So 99% of the time it takes 6 seconds to charge my car.
6 seconds?
Yeah, 3 seconds to plug in. I go to bed, have dinner, breakfast, and 3 seconds to unplug. What can be more convenient than that?
So we would never switch back to a gas car. There is just no reason to go back. And I think if electric cars had been first, gas cars would never have been sold.
Another person driving the electric vehicle movement is Julian Sale of Motorize, your EV store in Sydney. He's on a mission that goes beyond just selling electric vehicles. Julian is passionate about creating a movement away from fossil fuels.
I think the biggest thing that people need to know about electric cars is that they're a lot less expensive than a lot of people think. And if you scrap an old vehicle that's worth considerably less than $3,000, you'll get $3,000 for the vehicle, so you could potentially bring the purchase price of your EV well under 10 grand. They are definitely within reach. There's a number of government subsidies that apply to new and used EVs that help lower the cost and put them more within reach for people, for sure. A lot of people believe that if you're burning or using electricity that's generated by coal, then you're not ahead at all, but they forget to factor in that to burn gasoline, you must first burn electricity in order to refine the oil so that it becomes gasoline. So if you remove a gas car from the road, you're also freeing up a whole bunch of energy that would normally be used to refine the gas for that car. that energy can be used for an electric car, which is way more efficient. You're also going to save a lot of time and money with maintenance and downtime. EVs don't really have the mechanical stuff in them that breaks down and requires regular upkeep. So you're not going to be calling your service advisor at your local dealership asking to get in for an oil change and complaining about a squeaky belt or complaining about a check engine light or anything like that. Most of the parts that fail and cost money and take time to maintain aren't under the hood of an electric car. All right, so we're going to have a look at the motor in the BMW i3 here. Very simple to access, and that's it. The important thing to remember here is that as technology moves forward and we start to see a development in wind and solar energy, that's the creation for a lot of new jobs. We see some people talking about electric cars taking jobs away. It's not going to happen. What the government needs to do is focus on creating jobs in clean tech so that we can introduce new jobs in a new growing industry and become leaders instead of sticking to the oil and gas industry, which is clearly shrinking.
Salt Spring Island is leading the way nationally with the largest number of electric vehicles per capita. Rob Lowry shared this special video to mark the occasion of the 100th electric vehicle on Salt Spring.
This car was the final item on my green bucket list. The very first thing was a heat pump for the house, which reduced my power usage and made the house more comfortable. The next thing was replacing every single window in the house with high efficiency windows, and we did new frames as well. The next thing was we had 20 solar panels on the roof put on by a group in Salt Spring that got together. They got us so much power, we put another 20 solar panels on. And so finally I decided we had the money and I went over, bought this car, and I'm absolutely thrilled, especially since I have the solar panels. I am going to be charging this car for free, is one way of looking at it.
Relying on another form of free transportation, what's old is new again on Salt Spring Island. I spoke to small business owner and Salt Spring Island Chamber Vice President Jeremy Milsom about it. And I understand you have a very unique form of transportation that not too many people know about, and that's hitchhiking.
That's true, and many people, even on the ferry, will put their hands out and grab a ride from someone else on the ferry. But we also have little pickup zones that are designated with a sign, and people can come stand there, and very, very friendly islanders and generous islanders will pick them up and take them to their destination. The natural economy of the island is boosted by so many factors, and the putting us on the electric vehicle destination maps, I think, is very important, particularly as that industry is growing so fast. And it also ties into the nature of electric travel, including bicycles. As an island, we recognize that the electric vehicle travel trend is growing, and especially the West Coast. And you can travel all the way from California to Salt Spring and never run out of power.
Active transportation and electric vehicles are not a new idea. Here's what most people don't know. Over to you, Melissa and Nolan.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Nolan.
What is that?
I believe it's called a bonnet, Melissa. I'm going for a retro look. This was very in 1890.
Yeah, I think those are meant for women.
Really? Well, I think it looks pretty good on me, so.
You know what else was in 1890?
Plumbing?
Electric streetcars.
Come on, Melissa, we all know electric cars are the hip new thing.
No, for real. In 1890, Victoria became the third city in Canada to adopt an electric streetcar system.
Well, where'd it go?
Well, it was abandoned in 1948 to make room for gas-powered vehicles.
So I guess we're kind of coming full circle, hey?
Yeah, especially considering that in 1912, a resident of Victoria actually owned an electric car.
1912?
Yeah, it was made by the Anderson Electric Car Company in Detroit and was used until 1963, and then spent another 30 years in the basement of the Empress in storage.
Wow, well, I guess Victoria has always been looking for new ways to explore alternative transportation. Horse and buggy, kabuki cab, we're even one of the most bike-friendly cities in all of Canada. We even have a theater festival designed for audiences to bike from show to show.
Stampede.
Yep, takes place every July. Is this where we cut to Brendan?
Yeah. Is it stuck?
Yeah, please help. Okay, all right, everybody. Here's Brendan, this year's associate producer of the Stampede. Okay, watch the eye.
Theater Scams, 21 years old. Started as producing site-specific work and focusing on fostering emerging artists. And the project that I've been involved in is their festival Scampede, which takes place right here on the Galloping Goose. We put 12 performances along the trail, and our audiences travel by foot or by bike, rollerblade, skateboard, however they like along the trail to these different performances.
I recall being at one where my bike had to kiss another bike. Is that common?
We didn't have any of that in this year's, but we have all kinds of shows from all across Canada, artists from Halifax, Montreal, Vancouver, Edmonton, so yeah, you could see anything really. This year we had about 450 patrons, probably about 3/4 cyclists, the rest mostly walkers and a couple people on scooter. One woman was on rollerblades and pushing her stroller with her 2 kids in it, which was quite a sight to see. It's just fantastic to see the diversity in our audience.
Thank you so much for putting on such an active transportation festival.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Victoria has the potential to be one of Canada's top year-round cycling capitals. From the Galloping Goose to downtown Victoria, a lot more tourists and bike riding taxpayers can now enjoy a safer commute with the expansion of bike lanes.
We are united on this infrastructure. We think that health and wellness is a priority for the city, and every single member of council deserves huge kudos for having the courage to create not only this first piece of the network, but the 25 kilometers that we're going to see developed over the next few years. So thank you to your council. We have a fantastic staff team in the transportation department at the City of Victoria. Not only did they build this high quality infrastructure, oversee the building of it, they brought this project in on time and on budget. And I think that is something to celebrate.
Come on, you know you want a piece of cake, come on.
Thank you. So how can we have our cake and eat it too? I asked engineer Troy McKay how the District of Saanich works collaboratively on large-scale infrastructure projects like bike lanes and solves problems for the benefit of the community.
The Cook Street runs right into the City of Victoria, and we coordinated with them on this project to have bike lanes installed on their portion of Cook Street at the same time, so that it would be a continuous piece of work and that the route's now continuous right to the Finlayson intersection. We build approximately 5 to 8 kilometers per year of new bike lanes, and we do that every year. We have over the last 20 years and project over the next 30 years continue building new bike lanes and new sidewalks. Sidewalks are just as important as bike lanes to give people options so they can walk and cycle equally. Really now we start thinking about all modes of transportation when we're planning routes, and instead of saying that major roads are automatically bike routes, we need to put a little bit more thought into what is a place that people actually want to ride their bike so they can get to the destinations that they want to get to on a relatively straight and convenient manner, and that the routes are suitable for all ages and abilities of cyclists, so that not just the people who are very eager and always riding their bikes are using them, but we want to get people so they have choices. So if they choose to ride their bike to the grocery store or to dinner for an evening out, that they can do that.
What is the sustainability project that Saanich is most proud of?
Well, I think we have a couple of projects. This Cook Street project is one of them, where it's we call it a complete street project. We have those on Cook Street, on Tillicum, and on Admirals Road, where the projects that we look at the whole street as a whole, with sustainability is one of the main points that we're focusing on. Projects like this, like Cook Street, that we have a huge variety of different types of infrastructure where we've collaborated it all down into one large project that we can put all the different pieces together to build a new piece of infrastructure. So Cook Street, we replaced the underground utilities, which were at the end of their useful life. We put in rain gardens and stormwater management facilities, which are really helpful for Saanich. We installed LED street lights, which you can see the example of one right there. We built public plaza spaces like we're here at the corner of Cook and Wicklow. New street trees installed with appropriate soil volume so the trees have a long life and they can grow really well. Also using the newest technologies in the utilities that we're installing so that they last as long as possible and that they have the lowest maintenance costs. When you look down a street like Cook Street in Saanich, you have bends in the road, which are there on purpose actually to avoid sensitive agrarian ecosystems, so we can still design a really good road and really high quality cycling and walking facilities and preserve that environment that's there and really unique to different parts of Saanich.
Also working towards a more eco-sensitive active transportation network is the Township of Esquimalt. We spoke with Mayor Barbara Desjardins about Esquimalt's evolving transportation plan.
We are a community that is looking very much at how do we get around, and what we want to do is be able to provide a lot of options. So we have a pedestrian charter that outlines how to improve the walkability of our community. Biking is absolutely a priority, has been for a number of years with Council. So we have recently included the E&N Rail Trail, and of course, having that final section now between Hallowell Road and Maplebank Road will make the connectivity from one end of Esquimalt and of course Victoria on the one side out to the West Shore. That is absolutely imperative, because in the past what they've had to do is go along the trail a little bit and then get into the traffic of Admiral's Road. We have so many people that come from the West Shore and they come down to work in Esquimalt at Dockyard and Department of National Defence. If we can offer them an option to road as well as the cycling trail, and then we give them so much more opportunity to get out of their vehicles. There is an opportunity with the E&N corridor to provide a commuter service. There's a lot of work that has been done, but it is currently sitting with the Ministry of Transportation, and we're hoping that they're going to take a look at it and say, yes, let's move forward on this. One of the things that has to be done is good consultation with both Songhees First Nation and Esquimalt First Nation to ensure that ability to move a train through their area, and that is it's my understanding that that work was being done and is still in place.
What can Esquimalt do to push along more of a shuttle service or a ferry service?
Ferry companies do come and go, but we'll continue to hope that somebody will look for that opportunity as well. We need to integrate all of the great things that we have. We have great bus service that needs to absolutely broaden out to the Western communities. Our community is well served by transit, but the region-wide coordination of transit, of the opportunity of the commuter rail corridor at E&N, the opportunity of road work and how do we deal with that, plus trails, all has to come together with all of the players, because we can't do it without the province. They're in charge of the major roads. We can't do it without BC Transit. They're in charge of the bus service. And we can't do it without the municipalities, because they're in charge of the smaller components. So this is a joint effort. There's a lot of momentum now, and I feel very positive that we're going to get somewhere.
One thing we all need to work towards is the reduction of transportation-based greenhouse gases. I asked transportation expert Eric Doherty and James Wadsworth of BC Transit to share their solutions.
Number one thing we need to do to reduce greenhouse gas pollution from transportation is to just stop spending money on the things that make greenhouse gas pollution worse. Things like expanding urban highways, and shift that money to things like public transit, cycling, and walking that reduce greenhouse gas pollution. And to make that really work, we also need to shift road space away from the private automobile and make dedicated bike lanes, dedicated bus lanes. Right here where we're standing on Douglas Street at rush hour, 40% of the people traveling on the road are on buses already. Once we have the bus lanes that are planned on this, that will go up and those people will no longer be stuck in traffic. That's what we need to see.
Tell us, how is BC Transit moving us into the future of an integrated transit system where everything works?
Well, in 2011, BC Transit and the Transit Commission created a Transit Future Plan for the Victoria system, which is a long-range vision for transit. And ever since then, we've been working with the Transit Commission to implement the Transit Future Plan. And one of the main things we've been doing is trying to improve connections for transit between the Victoria and the West Shore. And to do that, we've been implementing bus lanes with the City of Victoria since about 2013. And up until today, we're putting the last piece in this year. And we've also been working with the ministry, who soon will be opening transit bus lanes on Douglas Street from Tolmie all the way out to the new interchange, and bus lanes will be a part of the new interchange. And we're not done yet. We're still planning with the City of Colwood and the Town of View Royal to look at transit priority options for View Royal and also for park and ride capacity. Out in Souk, we're working with the ministry to look at improvements to the bus stops and improvements to park and ride capacity. And also we're hoping to do a local area transit plan with the people of Souk to figure out transit services in that area. This year we're expanding service by 2%. We're hoping to continue to expand service year over year to better meet the needs of the community.
And do you envision a future where we'll be able to have a latte served to us on a bus?
I could see that happening, so stay tuned. Not tomorrow, but it's something we should be thinking about in the longer term. And also having some nice newspapers or Wi-Fi for you to check your stories on. Coming pretty soon, next year, we will have a transit app that will allow you to track your buses and also see where your buses are in real time.
Will there be a dedicated bus lane to the ferries, James?
As part of developing a rapid bus network for the Victoria region, we will be looking at incremental steps on Highway 17 to improve transit travel times. So to start, that could be a queue jump at the intersection, but the longer term, we will look at things such as bus lanes.
For those who don't want to own a car or bus, another solution exists.
So Moto offers two-way car sharing to the residents of Victoria, and our mandate really is to take the personal vehicle off the road. So the more people that we can encourage to not only car share, but bike and walk and take transit, we feel like we're making a difference for the environment and also providing our members with a reliable and cost-efficient way to access the personal vehicle. And we know from our over 20,000 members that the average trip is about 2 hours and 14 kilometers, and that'll cost you roughly about $13. Anyone can join Moto, and we do have a fleet of over 575 vehicles, including the Lower Mainland, Nanaimo, and the ferry terminals as well. We say that every Moto has a home, so there's 56 vehicles in Victoria and about 50 different home locations.
New technology is helping revolutionize the way we get around. We learned about a new smartphone app that rewards active transportation users in their quest to reduce their carbon footprint.
So My Open Road Canada is a non-profit organization, and our goal is to make this app accessible to everyone. There is no cost to our users. You can use the app anywhere in the world. Currently, we are partnered with businesses in Canada and in the US, but anyone can use the app. My Open Road rewards users for taking active transportation around town by giving them discounts at local businesses. We actually calculate the carbon reduction for each trip traveled by our users, and we can tell users how much CO2 they've prevented from being emitted into the atmosphere and calculate the dollar savings from not driving a single occupancy vehicle. So here we have the homepage for my Open Road account, and when I click on my social responsibility score, I get to see some stats from my previous trips. So for example, you can see my cycle mode stats. I've saved 4 kilograms of CO2 from being emitted into the atmosphere, and I've burned 398 calories on this mode. If I go to my running walking mode, you can see that I've saved $5 for walking instead of paying for fuel, and I've saved 4 liters of fuel. We've tried to turn it into a game, make it so people can compete, make it so that they can try and incentivize themselves to take active transportation whenever possible.
How innovative that we can reduce our carbon footprint while having fun and staying healthy. Dr. Trevor Hancock is a health specialist who takes a one-planet approach to the topic of transportation. His newspaper columns and public speaker lecture series summarize a variety of solutions. Dr. Trevor Hancock, how can we make our community healthier and more sustainable through transportation?
Well, if you think about the health impacts of transportation, there's injuries, there's physical inactivity, and there's air pollution. And so one of the things we need to do is actually reduce the amount, particularly of cars that are moving. So we need good public transit, but to have good public transit, we have to stop urban sprawl because you can't afford public transit if you've got a low-density urban sprawl. That would also increase people's physical activity. They'd have to walk more, bike more, take the bus more. There'd be fewer accidents, there'd be less air pollution. We also need to think about whether people even need to move in the first place. So take the Mackenzie interchange that is up over there. Instead of spending all that money on getting more cars through, why don't we put the money into telecommute centres, which enable people to work closer to home, but also do it in a community setting where they meet other people, so that instead of having to go downtown to their offices every day, maybe they only need to go 4 out of 5 days. If you did that, you'd reduce commuting traffic by 20%, just like that.
The amount of land used for cars not moving is staggering, especially when we consider how many cars have homes, while many people do not. Imagine how much land we could free up for housing, gardens, parks, and other uses if we had a 24/7 driverless network, and how much safer it could be considering more than 90% of accidents are caused by human error and distraction. Driveways would become a thing of the past if people no longer required their own vehicle, but could simply share and get into a vehicle that took them away at nominal cost. A number of cities are moving towards driverless vehicles of all descriptions. Anything is possible. As we've just heard, in the near future, transportation might look very different. If you want to share your solutions and ideas, visit creativelyunited.org and be part of the Solutions Hub. Post your ideas and events and share in resources that help us all to make this island and world a better place.
We just bought a property and I had to buy a diesel tractor. I didn't like that. I came across some leaf batteries that were offered from Salt Spring Island. They have the highest density. I already have some of the batteries like this on my tractor. This is going to be my mobile power generator on the property. This is the battery. This is my solar charger. This is my inverter. I have already solar panels there. I hook this up, I charge this, I can drag the tractor wherever I want, and I have 110 volt power to fall a tree, drill a well, pump water, all living off solar.